What is so special about the 70th anniversary of Yud Shvat?
So what's so special about this particular Yud Shvat, in which we know it's going to be 70 years, Shivim Shana, 70 years, from when the Rebbe said Basi Legani and assumed the mantle of leadership. That happened in the year Tavshin Yud Aleph, 5711, and now we're in Tavshin Pei Aleph, 5781. It's 70 years. Is there any unique significance? Is this really meaningful? Well, taking into consideration that the Rebbe based his entire leadership in the fact that he is the 7th generation, which means the Rebbe is a continuation from his predecessors that happened before. In the monumental task of bringing the Eibishter, bringing God into this world, through a series of 7 tzaddikim that channel Hashem down from the 7th heaven down into this world, with the conclusion, the coming of Mashiach. So the number 7 is very significant. And as we read and always learn, that the shleimus of every number is when it has completed with 10. The completion of 10, and that gives you 70. In addition to that, the Rebbe's headquarters is in 770. So the number 7 is very, very significant. Let's take one added look at this. As we know that a lifetime of a person's accomplishment is completed in 70. As it says, Yemei Asenu Bahem Shivim Shana. The work time, the lifespan of a person is 70 years. That means that for a person to do a complete tikkun in this world, a complete rectification, every neshama comes down, as it says in Tanya, not to rectify himself. The neshama is perfect. But to do a purification and an elevation in the world, beginning with one's own body and one's animal soul. So the pasuk says, Yemei Asenu Bahim, in the physical world, in the nefesh habahamis, in the animal world, in the dark world, is 70 years. Now, if this is true about a private individual, obviously it also refers to the neshama keleles, the general soul. The general soul of the world comes to fix 7 and 70, but not an individual 7, but the collective 7. So let's get a better understanding on that. But first, regarding a Nasi, a leader of the Jewish people, there is a famous Mishnah that we're all familiar with. It's the last Mishnah in the first chapter of Masechtas Brachos. We say it by the Agadah Shel Pesach. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says, Harei ani keben shivim shana. I am like 70 years old, and I didn't merit that to teach or to derive from where we know that you're supposed to say Yetzias Mitzrayim by night, until Ben Zayma came along and he said that since it says you should remember the day you went out of Mitzrayim, Kol Yemei Chayacha, all the days of your life, the Kol comes to add not just by day, but even at night. And then he brings the Chachamim say, not only in our days, but even in Yemei Mashiach, even in the days of Mashiach. So the Rebbe asks a question. This is in the Sicha, Sefer HaSichas, Tavshin Nun Beis, Parsha Shemois. The Rebbe asked the question, number one, why is Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah particularly giving this teaching on the day that he became the Nasi? How do we know that that's the day he became the Nasi? He became the leader of the Jewish people. Because he says, Harei ani keben shivim shana. I am now like 70 years old. Because he walked into the Beis HaMedrash and no one recognized him. He walked into the yeshiva, no one knew who he was because he had a long white beard. Yesterday, when he went home, he had a teenager's beard. What happened? They appointed him to be the Nasi. He said, I have to discuss it with his wife. His wife said, no one will respect you because you're so young. How can you be the Nasi of the Jewish people? A miracle happened, and he now aged, and he looked like a sage of 70 years old. And now he walks back in. He says, oh, by the way, it's me. I am like 70 years old. And now he goes on to teach this teaching. So what's the connection between the day he becomes a Nasi, Dafka with teaching something about Yetzias Mitzrayim, and what's the connection to being 70 years old. So the Rebbe says like this, what is the main function of a Nasi? When you become the Nasi, what's going on in the Rebbe's mind when he's becoming a Nasi of the Jewish people? What are they supposed to do? What's their main mission? Their main mission is Geula, redemption. They are supposed to bring light to every struggling Jew. They're supposed to bring godly empowerment and light and an empowerment for a person to go out from any type of Mitzrayim that they might be in. We all get stuck in various different things, whether it's external factors that stifle us, whether it's internal Yetzer Hara and darknesses and so on and so forth that sometimes really cause us to be in a very deep exile and a very deep gullus. A Rebbe is has the power to throw a lifeline, a pipe, a channel, to channel a powerful infusion of Geula to every single person. And that's why Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, the day he becomes a Nasi, is teaching about the idea that Baleilos, that even when we are experiencing darkness, through the long 2,000 years of horrendous darkness that the Jewish people have gone through, Maskirin Yetzias Mitzrayim. If they're mentioning Yetzias, mention, what does it mean mention? Mention means you're tapping into the energy of Yetzias Mitzrayim. And the Rebbe says it's not enough, because Yetzias Mitzrayim is a geula, it's a redemption, it's a power of freedom, of godly freedom. But yet, it's not the ultimate redemption. The complete and lasting redemption is going to be the Geula Shalema, the Geula at the time of Mashiach. And in truth, the Rebbe says, both these Geulas are really one Geula. Because Yetzias Mitzrayim is a shoirish for the Geula and the empowerment for the future Geula. So the future Geula, or rather I should say the current Geula, is a continuation of Yetzias Mitzrayim. So when the Nasi, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, brings Geula to every Yid, he's bringing both. He's bringing Yetzias Mitzrayim to every person. He's also bringing Mashiach to every person. Lahavi liyamoisa Mashiach. He's bringing in Yamoisa Mashiach and shining it to every Jew. These two powerful moments of the previous redemption and the future redemption are accessible to every Jew through the Rebbe, through the Nasi. So Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah is learning this particular Mishnah on the day that he becomes a Nasi. And what did the Rebbe teach when he becomes a Nasi? Geula. What is he talking about? Basi Legami, bringing the Shekhinah down into this world, bringing redemption to the world. But there is one important necessity. For it to be complete, the Rebbe says, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah had incredible qualities. He was the 10th generation. He had yichus, spiritual qualities receiving from his parents. He was the 10th generation to Ezra. He was a huge Talmud Chacham. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, the sages say if everybody would be on one side and he would be on the other side of the scale, he would outweigh them all. So he had such qualities. Yet, he could not function as that powerful infusion of Geula until what? He was 70 years old. Now, he did a speed 70. He speeded up. He was only 18, but he managed to be as if he's 70, and it wasn't making believe. It wasn't just a costume. It was really because spiritually he was imbued with the quality of a 70. Why? So the Rebbe says an amazing thing. That in order for this incredible Geula Digalite, one needs to first purify all elements of the world. Like we say, for instance, when a person in a neshama comes into the body and does a purification in the 7 emotions, for that we're given 70 years, we do a purification in the 7 emotions. When we complete the purification of the 7 emotions in 70 years, then what happens? When we've rectified all elements of darkness, we come, as the Rebbe says, the ayin of Kedusha, the eye of holiness. Ayin, which is 70, also is eye, but the eye of holiness. We can see with a godly vision. Or, for a private neshama, it means that when you finish your avodah, we achieve what's called the Riyah Be'elokus, you get to see godliness. For a Rebbe, for a Nasi, his fixing is on a much greater scale. When he completes the fixing of all 70 elements, then he rises up to the eye of holiness, and he can, from that vision, from that place, he can pick up the Jewish people, no matter where they are, and the Rebbe says it's hinted in his name. Elazar, and his identity as a Nasi, Elazar is Kael Azar, the Eibishter helped. What's the idea of a Nasi? To bring you the Eibishter's help. What's Azariah? Also, Ezer Yudke, the assistance coming from the Yudke. A Rebbe is here to help us. Every single one of us. And how does he help us? By connecting us to redemptive light. But when does the power of the Rebbe reach its zenith? When does the power of Rebbe reach its completion? When we complete the work of the tikkun in the seven. Now the Rebbe explains that the 770 represents the avodah of the Jewish people. The reason why the Nasi Hadar, the Friedrich Rebbe, lived in 770, everything is Bashkacha Pratis, is because this home and this shul, and this is going to be the headquarters for the final operation that's going to complete the work of rectification of all the 70 nations, which means the complete world. And that's the significance of 770. So therefore, the Rebbe spends 70 years through his shluchim and through all of us. Doing what? Doing the last birudim and the last tikkun. When we complete that tikkun of all 70, now after 70 years it's at its peak, then we reach what's called the ayin the kedusha. The Rebbe says it's the big ayin of Shema, which is the vision that comes after everything is done. And as the Rebbe himself already started talking a while ago, that we should open up our eyes and start seeing Geula. So the culmination of all the Rebbe's work from Tafshin Yud Aleph reaches its completion at the conclusion of the 70 years, and that now it's a whole new level of Geula, of redemption, and of illumination, and of clarity. So let's prepare with a lot of joy and a lot of focus by tuning in to the enormous power of this Shnas Hashivim, and mainly opening our eyes to see the Rebbe's vision, where the world is going, where Geula is going, and tap into that we should be able to be ayin yiru, eye to eye with the sea.